October the 21st, 2025. Guys, you're looking at a website called the Sky Live. Check that out. It's been on the website for at least a dozen years at bpearthwatch.com. Very good site. You can go there and look up different objects. If you've never used it, it's pretty cool. But if you go to bpearthwatch.com, scroll down to the links, you'll see a row of black links. And as you just scroll down till you see the Sky Live. It's going to be probably 2/3 of the way down. Click on it and you can go to all kind of places. Now, what I've got this on is Atlas because it's becoming quite interesting, to put it the least. Now, what you're looking at, and I've got this back way out, and I'll back it out a little further. This purple line is the path of Atlas 3I. Check that out. And I've got it pretty close to the ecliptic, and what you're seeing, this is the ecliptic in the center, but Pluto's orbit does not go along with the orbits of all the inner planets. You see that? And many people say that there's an outside body that's of influence in Pluto. In other words, like I guess the simplest way would be a dark star that is a possible binary twin for our sun. And when you get to a certain temperature without the right temperatures, like telescopes like an infrared telescope, there's objects out there you do not see because it is not in the visible spectrum. And that's why you have the Vatican's telescope called Lucifer up on Mount Graham in the desert southwest of the U.S. And it is a infrared telescope, so it can see things that normal cameras don't. But again, some object has thrown Pluto out of the ecliptic orbit a long time ago, and they talk about what it could be, and there's all kind of prospects. But I would go possibly with a dark star, binary twin. Most star systems are binary, by the way. Anyway, let me tilt this just a little bit. This is Neptune. You got Saturn coming here. Jupiter's here. Let's just get closer and closer. Check this out. You can turn this thing around and pick your ecliptic up. And now you can set this thing for any of the comets or asteroids that are named and things like that. I've got it set at 3I Atlas. Let me back out just one more time here. That long purple line is why Avi Loeb and some of the scientists, let me get it right on the ecliptic, saying this is very unusual orbit coming right through the ecliptic, only the third interstellar object. And probably there's been hundreds and thousands, but the Earth is very old. But in the modern time, now the third interstellar object, it did not come from inside our solar system. And if we tilt it all the way down, you can see the gravitational bend in the path by our sun right there. And they're saying that something happened around the Mars area that possibly changed the orbit somewhat. Anyway, let's pull this back up, and I want it to be Earth-facing because of what we have in the information in this video. We need to look at it from an Earth-facing perspective. In the blue orbit, our solar system is very large. Space is much larger. But right here, guys, we got Earth here. If we tilt it up, there's the sun. And here they are depicting 3I Atlas. It's just a graphic as a comet, but there's no tails. And a lot of people now are no longer calling it a comet because it obviously is not. But what is it? And that's what this video is about, because let me pull it up and we'll get a little closer look. Now, out in space, and we have between Earth and the sun, we have different satellites. You got SOHO, in LASCO, you've got C1 and C2, the blue and red cameras. And then we've got the SDO, or the Solar Dynamics Observatory. We get beautiful pictures of the sun, but they're heavily filtered, right? But now the space telescopes that we use, they never point them directly at the sun unless they're filtered solar design built just for that. Talking about like heavy filtration, like in a welder's helmet. And you get the different aspects. There's 12 cameras on the SDO, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, each has a different filter. But they were saying we were going to be in a blind spot because they cannot turn the SDO and the SOHO instruments directly to the sun. It would fry their optic circuits. I understand that. But what has happened is someone has taken, let me get the Earth right in here. That's in the blue dot here. Let's pull the sun up, and again, this is Atlas right there. Notice it's, and let's get the ecliptic pretty straight. Right there, Earth and the sun at least level. Close enough anyway, right in here. And what you're seeing is, when it's level, is Atlas is slightly above the sun and to the right. It's hard to get this thing right where you want it. Back it out just a little. Right in there. Mercury and the Earth. So with that, we've got the satellites, like we said, SDO and all can see it, but they can't turn this close to the sun and get it up. And notice that Atlas is just above the ecliptic, and it's moving in this direction. That's very important because of the images. And so the only thing that can pick it up, it can't be the visuals that we usually see, is a solar or thermal or a infrared camera sensing some type of heat change. And that's what's happened. Now, we didn't expect to get any images, for a couple more weeks, I think, getting into December or late November, depending on if it's the speed of 3i Atlas slows down or speeds up. Right now, I think it's a little faster than it was before because it is showing that it is moving. It would take it about 9 seconds to go from New York to Paris, I think is what we were figuring on the speed there. Again, the sun is here, the Earth is there, and thermal telescope on Earth is what has picked this up, these images I'm going to show you. Now, it's a little hard to see in this image, but you see the circle right here, guys, and it's a little heavier as far as the information inside of it to the center here, but there's a circle there. And what that is it's above the sun and to the right, just like we're seeing in the model that shows Atlas's current position. If you noticed in that, the timestamp was now. But anyway, this is the signature of the blob that was picking up. Again, it's just picking up thermal imaging, but you can take that and use different computer techniques and look a little deeper. And that's exactly what we're about to do. Now, this still isn't much, but we're going to go through a step of images. And what we're seeing, and this is basically turning down the temperature. We're only looking at the hottest objects in the thermal imaging. And again, you can faint outline of that circle. But you can see most of the heat is here and near the rear right there. That's being picked up in that thermal image. And again, going through what's basically called thermal temperatures on this, what we're doing in these filters, and changing some things, it's what I do affects the entire image. There's no cutouts, there's no replacement, no anything like that. And we're still seeing the most signature in that heat circle is here. But look, the center's a little darker, and we're starting to pick up a little bit of imaging here. And what we're doing is kind of going through that outer layer or the cooler sections. We're getting close to the center of Atlas. And as we continue going through this process, again, you can see the circle here. The center's dark. It's lighter here, giving off possibly a hotter signature. By the way, it's going from left to right in this direction, because that's just the way the model was showing it, coming across the top of the sun and moving to the right. Now, there's no tail. Again, they were talking about an anti-tail. But what is in the rear here? And look at the front. We don't. Now this center section, is where we were seeing it look like the embryo of an egg, or multiple objects within that center section. But what really gets amazing to me is when we take out everything, all the gray, everything, and just start focusing on what is actually being pulled forth in this thermal imagery. Now, this is turning everything down, guys. Just dimming down the temperatures. You can't see space. It's just black. And this is what is starting to remain. Now, again, this is the front of the object moving forward. Obviously, no tail here. It looks like we may, again, this would be possibly the very center of the images we were getting, but those were not thermal images in our last Atlas video a few days ago. But in the thermals, we're seeing the main section here, but what are we starting to pick up back here? And a lot of this, there's almost like there's light showing up on these objects. Now, let's look at one more and pay attention to this section here. Again, I talked about an ion drive. We talked about no tail on comets, and that it was moving in this direction, right? Let's just get a little closer with it. Again, heat signatures here, here, here. But this one seems, guys, I hate to say it, attached to this entire section here. We've talked about a ion drive. Is why we're seeing forward lighting, like you're seeing here, and a light from the rear, but not a tail. And if we start pulling this up, especially this section right here, again, let's just do it. I want to hear what you guys think. Check this out, pulling it up. Again, bright light signatures here. Like I said, the entire image was affected simultaneously. No segments were picked out, and dimming everything down, even space in the background, any stars, anything else. And we got these signatures, and we have these. Now look at this very bottom. Let me try to get it as close as I can. And I said this looked like it was attached here. These almost look like squares. Now I know it's a long way away, or at least panels. There's a very bright light here, and there's a rear light here, possibly part of the drive system. Now, the reason I'm saying that, because there's nothing else I've ever seen like this. No comet, no asteroid, nothing. No meteorite, nothing like that. Again, let me pull this up. Guys, take some screenshots if you want to. Share these. Backing it out. Again, you know, people have talked about, would it be a mothership? I don't know. But this definitely looks completely different from anything I've seen. Would this be the main drive? Or what is in front of this? And are these other objects that are along with Atlas? Look up at the top. Again, space is blacked out. It's not showing I'm not showing any background because I've dimmed everything down that much just to pick up the heat signatures. Look at the rear of this. And I said at one time, this thing looked like almost a fleet with something very large in the center of it. I'm just going to pull this up a little. Let me move this over. Again, take some screenshots. I have no idea other than this is what is left when you dim everything else out. We're watching it, guys. I know I'm going to get some flack for this, but I got to tell you what I see. You tell me what you see. And we'd have a friendly disagreement. That's no problem. But we're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.